This is the very best eMTB that I've ever tested. It's the best eMTB I've ever tested. In recent years I've tested over 30 of them. I'm not entirely sure why this bike feels so good, but in the end, does it really matter? Let's start with climbing. This is a steep slalom hill, and the Bosch motor fitted to this bike is my current favorite. The updates over the years have made this motor a very different motor from when it was first launched many years back. It's smooth, punchy low end, and there is always enough power in whatever tricky situation you might find yourself in. I also like the overrun that's built into this system. It makes climbing in technical terrain so much easier. The only drawback is the noise. I have a good climbing position on the new Wild, and I wasn't even close to get any pedal strikes either. You probably want some numbers, so here they are. The bike has got a fairly long chainstay, which surprised me a bit. I might have to recalibrate my opinion that an eMTB should have a short chainstay and a small rear wheel. This setup is of course great for climbing, but also for smooth handling in the chunky. Still, it's agile. How did they do that? Part of that explanation is probably the low weight. This bike weighs in at under 21 kilos, and that feels different from most other full-fat eMTBs. It's a 160/160 bike with the option of increasing the front travel to 170 mm. Pair that with a slack geometry and the result is a pretty big bike with a long wheelbase. The reach is 480 mm, which may sound like a lot, but you need to put that into relation to the very steep C-tube and the slack head tube that impacts on how roomy a bike is. I'm 185 centimeters tall, and I'm perfectly fine on this sized large bike, even if I could do with a slightly longer reach. Things to notice. There seems to be a trend to have a non-removable battery on more performance-oriented bikes. But taking away that option, the frame can be made lighter and stiffer. Orbea claims that the new Wild is over 50% stiffer than the previous model, while being able to shave off over 900 grams in weight. These are huge improvements, but you need to have the charger close to your bike. At the same time, this frame does not have any ports in the head tube for cables. They are run through the proprietary headset. Changing the headset or service the bearings will therefore involve some cable cutting. On top of that, I can't see many spaces to play around with if you wish to adjust the front end. Okay, so what makes the Orbea Wild the best eMTB I've ever tested? It's more of a feeling than anything else. Some other eMTBs can sometimes feel somewhat dead and unresponsive. This bike, however, feels anything but. It doesn't matter if you climb, ride on the flats, or in challenging descents. The new Orbea Wild always feels responsive and alert and inspires me as an average rider to go harder and faster. I like bikes that make me feel like a better rider than I am, and this is definitely one of them. Even if the bike is big, it's still agile, and that wheel flop sensation that you can get on slacker bikes is hardly noticeable. I'm trying to stay nuanced here, since I don't like watching over-ecstatic reviewers on YouTube myself. My brother doesn't hold back though. This is the absolutely best bike according to him, and he usually stands with both feet on the ground. The only bike I've ridden that feels similar to the Orbea Wild is this bike. It's a Turbo Levo S-Works frame with the newest and priciest components available on the market. I don't dare to guess how expensive this beautiful build is, but this particular Orbea Wild is probably way cheaper. Still, it's a costly bike, but if you can afford it, it's worth the money.